The season isn't technically over, but boy, does it feel like it. It was an ugly game of hot potato, two ugly teams, and we were by far the worst team and more unprepared. This is just, it's a disaster. Mercury Mars passed away today. Even if we played with character and heart, it could have been passable, but this was an abysmal game on an abysmal day saying goodbye to Mercury Mars. And here we are, 23-3 Dolphins, 1-2 on the season. Definitely some winnable games. Guys, it's not technically over. You could say, but anything is possible. But it does feel like it's over. This whole thing, we had either unprecedented amount of draft capital or near unprecedented draft capital, and this is what you get. You lose your quarterback, starting quarterback, and then you look like you're the tiny ball man circling around a toilet. This is a disaster at every level. I'm going to get into it. Zach Sealer deserves your applause. Achane, Wright, and a few other guys, but those are the most notable. Zach Sealer played with unbelievable. One guy almost kept us in this game. And Achane and Sealer are guys, I wish we could clone them on each side of the ball. So we can't just say I'm done because these guys are giving their blood, sweat, and tears. You saw what happened to Skylar. So we got to stay with our team. Anything can happen, but man, this is a really, 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 really bad spot and something that maybe if you've been listening to me for 3 years, I've been telling you is kind of the situation. If you look at my gallery list, I have Finn enemy number 1, Chris Grier, and it was 4D chess forever. I did a pregame matchup on this one, and I got maybe 1,000 views, lost a bunch of subs, like maybe 5 or 6, but I called exactly right. I mean, go to my keys from that game, and I called it right. In what I've been saying for years about the offensive line, about Chris Grier, the whole 9 yards, it's very accurate. Not 100%, but there's no way this guy should be running this show. There's no way that you're going to get a high pick this year. It's probably going to end up happening, and he's going to be the guy to lead us. You're going to get a suit hustle, rehype, hopium pick up somewhere along the way. You know, we get these top picks and we have all these picks. Greer can find those holes and we'll be good. This guy had as much ammo as you could possibly have, squandered it, wasted it, and you got a few guys on it. This team should not buckle the way it has. So I'm going to get into that, but you've got to stay, we're going to talk about, Tua, who obviously you can see without him, this whole thing turns into garbage. So I think some of you have to, especially some guys that were saying Skylar's going to be better. Skylar's the guy. I think it's pretty clear his speed of throw and his anticipatory throws carry this shambles of an offense. And it is. But there is a lot to go around. You could talk about McDaniel today. We'll get into that. You can talk about the offensive line. I'm not sorry, Eichenberg. I'm not sorry, Austin Jackson. We're going to get some like PFF. On Tuesday at 7:00, he had a PFF grade of 95. You're wrong, Chris. I don't know. But they were terrible today. There was a lot. I'll get into the whole thing, but it's got to go back to Chris Greer. If you're not focused on him, he's the architect of everything. You don't like this? Well, he put it there. You don't like this? He put it there. Whatever you got, he put it there. He's been here since either 2019, 2016. And from 2019, he was jacked up with capital, and this is what you get. Garbaggio. So stick with your team. Stick with the guys that you love. Hope that even if this is the darkest before the dawn will rise after this. I think it's got to start with that, Chris Greer. But anyway, guys, let's get into it. First off, I had a few keys. Number one was discipline. Pretty obvious, but we had explosive diarrhea. But the sad part is they did too. They were as sloppy as you could imagine. And my fourth game setting was coaching and the talent. McDonald's, he's a master of that defense, the one that we're kind of running with Weaver, but he's a first-year head coach. you kind of have to have some mulligans. Mike McDaniel shouldn't have any mulligans. This was atrocious. Our special teams was a disaster. Special teams coach should be fired. It's bad. Mike McDaniel, again, burning timeouts. We could use them maybe in the end of the first half. I don't want to burn a guy because he's had a lot to carry. He was in the booth. He was a run game coordinator. They brought him down and he said, you got to win now. And we're not going to give you garbage your offensive line. Go for it, kid. But at some point, you just got to say, you know what? I don't think he's got the discipline to hold things together. He's not rallying the forces when things are down. Some guys' personalities, they work when things are down. Other guys, when things are going good, it accelerates it. And he's the kind of guy that accelerates it. But NFL is about adversity. It's about challenge. It's about hitting that wall and then getting through it. You're going to hit the wall multiple times before you win a Super Bowl. So this is a really it's a bad sign for him. And he just signed a contract. Very scary. Very scary. Skyler, he's been marinated in this now for over 2 seasons. And we drafted him. Okay. But you got to have a backup in the NFL, especially when you got a guy like Tua. And this is how prepared he is. I'm super confident in Skyler. They lie to us all the time. GM came up to me and said, Eichenberg's not in. He was playing so good for you. That's terrible. This is the best offensive line I've ever had. We're not really concerned. They lie. It's part of the gig, but they do it at a huge, crazy level. It's scary bad. I'll hold the offensive line for a second. To me, the 3rd down and 1 inside run by Ingold and the fumble, and then the deep, beautiful pass to Smythe, who we dropped in the end zone, is symptomatic of who we are. We just can't handle the inside stuff. We get beat up inside. That's the whole Ingold thing. Not knock on Ingold. But why is Smythe? You got Jonnu Smith. Why is he not doing that route? Why do we have these guys that are lower tier guys, and in the most critical moments, we're bringing in like, hey, Grandma, I need you to come in. I got a big play. It's 3rd down and 5. I need a big catch. Like, what is going on with that? There's something really screwy here. And I think Dave Hyde said they're trying to tank. Like, maybe they are. Because if they're not trying to tank, it's even worse. I would prefer them try to do a 2019 tank than this has been a genuine effort. But guys, if you've built everything to this point and your team is tanking like this, whether it's on purpose or not, with all that ammo, you done screwed up big. I mean, huge. I want to hear from some Grier fans. Please, is there any Grier fans out there? Please stand up in defense of his 4D chest, please. Please. Sealer. We've got to love this guy. That was a great acquisition. And it's not that Chris Grier totally does everything wrong. We have nice pieces. There's moments where Chris Grier does some really brilliant stuff. But the whole thing together, and, you sandwich it in between the 2nd and 3rd for Eichenberg and Jackson and, all the crazy stuff that we've done on top of that, you don't have a team. You got a nice, somebody was saying, flashy pieces. Look what I got. I got Chubb. But you don't got a team. There's something dramatically wrong, rotted at the core of this unit. We break mentally, starting from our leaders on the field, the coaching staff, down to the players, and not all of them. But Sealer is, he's so good. So good. So this was a big game. Achane, great pick. Great player. I love this kid. He's tough. He is special. And I got a feeling he's going to stay healthy. Something is, and then Wright's a nice little pick over there. And Campbell brought him as these guys were kind of floating us and carrying us. There were some other guys in there, but way too many flops. I mean, it was like, I had a friend, his name was Rob Johnson, this big fat guy. He used to love doing belly flops in the pool. You get the big belly and it wouldn't bother him. He's just, hey, God. We got too many of those guys, the big belly flop guys that are way overpriced. They're just for something. Either the coaching's bad, they're not here. It is bad. I I felt like a really angry fan today, so I'm sorry, but I'm not full evaluation. This is just my hot take. Tua, come on, let's give this guy some respect. People, he's no good. Okay, so then what? I mean, it was barely presentable week 1 and week 2, but that was him. You took him out, and his whole thing was flushed down the toilet. It says a lot about him. Skyler, this guy he was beaten bad. They're talking maybe a punctured lung or something. This is what happens when you don't have an offensive line. Guys get hurt. This is not like, digital game where we lost time. Guys can get hurt, seriously for life. And if you're not blocking and you don't have a proficient offensive line, these skill guys, especially the quarterback, can get injured bad. It was ridiculous watching Skyler take the beatings. Part of it, he wasn't ready, but he was set up for this. But then that offensive line was garbage. And you know what? Seattle has a poor offensive line. But if you notice, in the middle, Connor was doing some stuff to hold things together. And Cross, I think, on the left, but there was problems on parts of it. But that was a bad offensive line that our defense was ripping a hole. But just imagine if that's bad, what are we? This is a disaster of disasters. And Achane and Wright and Sela, though, are the guys that even if you're losing, even if you got one win for the season, you stick with them because they're fighting for you. They're playing for your team, giving their blood, sweat, and tears, and they deserve it. If there's it's like, they all in the Bible. Abraham says that the angels are, if there's like 10, don't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, like you've got guys worthy. Don't ever quit on them. I know it's hard, but if you don't want them to quit, then you as a fan really can't quit. You've got to have intestinal fortitude, the kind as a fan that you want your players and team to have. And these guys have earned it. And there's others I got to get through the film, but those are the pop guys that really, showed me. McD, he just doesn't get his plays to playmakers, doesn't really seem to have a feel for the game a lot. When he goes where he doesn't go for it, he's supposed to call a timeout, he's timeout, he shows up late, burns time. It's a disaster. And he's not a bad guy, but he was brought in way over his head. He was like, we wanted Peyton and Brady. We couldn't get them, so he went to Class 2, and a lot of people said, no, we don't want you. Well, no, we'll pass. And so we had to go down the line to him, and then like Ross wanted to raise ticket prices, so he's like, all right, we got to win now. Just go all out. Genius. Remember, he's the genius. I took care of Tua. I turned Tua around. People telling me you're a genius. Ha. But he was brought in and put in a bad situation. He's not a genius. This Stephan's got to show. It's not a bad guy. I think maybe if he goes someplace else with more coherent system and he's given time to marinate, he could do something. But he looks overwhelmed and frazzled. I'm starting to feel bad for him. Long went down. Skyler went down. Ingle, we're not certain about. Tehran, he didn't practice all offseason. And people get mad at Tehran. They ground him up, fed him pills. Come on, because they had nobody else. They needed to keep the suit hustle going, and he was the only one who could. And you saw, I said week 1, my eval, Tehran didn't look right week 1. And then week 2, it wasn't good. This guy's playing through all sorts of pain, and his body was ground up year 1 and year 2. Whatever you think about his health, he's going to carry those pains and scars for the rest of his life. Somebody goes, you know what? You're really hurt, but we don't have anybody at your position, and we need money. Here, take $15 million. There's not one of you who would say, oh, no, I'm not going to take that. You're like, dude, my body's beaten up. I'm going to be like, need medical care for the rest of my life. I ground myself up for you. I'm taking that $15 million. Thanks. So don't get mad at Tehran, but Chris Grier is the guy that did all this, and you can't get rid of Tehran till post-June. So all that money you can't use to sign your own players, your own free agents, or new free agents. And then there'll be a hit left over when he's gone. But you can't get mad at him. Not one of you wouldn't take that money. And he's a warrior. And he kept us afloat in 22 and a good part of 23. He did his job like a good warrior. Came in probably crying at night, trying to sleep, can't sleep. His hip, his arm, everything hurting. So my man Tehran deserves this because we didn't prepare. We rushed guys back. Look at Connor. Grind him up. Hunt, we don't need you. we'll take Ramsey and give him 30 million or 20 million, and Chubb, you're our guys. You don't take the money and run. Jackson got a little ding. Fuller got some kind of head injury, and even poor Storm Duck. Now, this is, you have, look, the reality is most likely it's lipstick on a pig, face paint on a crack whore, and it looks like the rainstorm's coming and wiping it off, and you're like, hey, bit. We got to see, though. If you look at the reality of what's coming, you got the Titans. They look not so good. But you don't have to be so good to beat us. I think we maybe can beat them. Maybe. We're home. Pats on the road is not going to be as easy as you think. So you're 1-2. Maybe you could be 3-2 or 2-3. Then you get your bye. And then, maybe some of these guys get healthy as long as you're not getting more injuries. And maybe Tua comes back at some point. You get the Colts. You're on the road, but they ain't hard to try. That quarterback is like, So, our defense is pretty good. The blitzing and everything. We could lose, I guess, but I'd say we can win that. AZ home's not going to be easy. They're high and low, but they got some physicality, especially when they can run inside, which hurts. If you haven't figured it out, I've been telling you that's the weakness for this defense. You run inside, and that's how you stay afloat with us because we can't do it back to you. But then you're at Buffalo. And then it gets hard. Clearly, what we're seeing here is a team that's not right. It's got some severe liabilities, and it's not going to go away. Offensive line makes the NFL world go around. Somebody who's got a melon head like me said that and has been saying it for years. The foundation of all offense, and in fact, the entire team, I played horrible. I said it for years, and then horrible kind of said it back. It's truth. You don't need top 5, but you cannot get by with the 39th best offensive line in football. And you know what? Without Tehran, we might go back to the 45th best offensive line in football of 2021. You can't. Grier tried the road less traveled, and it didn't make all the difference. He, like most people take the road less traveled, were eaten by bears, and then they've been pooped out, and you're seeing that poop through the course of the season. The design was flawed in so many ways. He missed the NFL cycles. He missed building the team in the correct way. He was delusional about players, letting some guys go and reaching for other guys. He pissed away so many draft assets and really took the wrong pony on so many different things. So what you got right now is something that's going to be herky-jerky. It's a plane riding through the air and the bolts are rattling. We're going to make it. Maybe we can. But what? How far do you think you can get with this thing? And then what do you think you're going to have next year when guys get older and salary caps inflate? How long do you keep this going? How long do Dolphin fans, stick with Chris Greer and say, oh, yeah, we're going to believe? Sometimes I really wonder, if you don't know what Stockholm Syndrome is. In Stockholm, there was a bunch of kidnappers that took some people. And then, like, the people who were kidnapped started defending their kidnappers. It's like the syndrome when you get kidnapped. I really do think if Dolphin fans in mass don't say enough with Chris Greer, I'm not gonna. No more media hype. No more hopium. No more. I'm sorry, Eichenberg and Jackson and Bush Barry trust all these. And I told you with McDaniel when he said he believed in this offensive line so much that the BS level was so high it was covering some real rot. If we put up with this, then I think that a lot of Dolphin fans have Stockholm Syndrome and they'll just do whatever. They'll go get a big go get a big free agent or something and get the picks and then, and then 3 years we'll be doing the same thing. I hope that's not the case, guys. This team, Weaver, he had some flaws. It's not all his fault. He's a new guy with a new staff, and you figure, but overall he died up some serious pressure. Not a great offensive line, but he bounced back from an ugly first half. But this is not enough. McDaniel doesn't have enough, and maybe he's not enough. This whole thing is a absolute disaster. But we've got to continue evaluating. You never know what can happen. You got to say that. You keep watching because the fans, your fellow fans, they need support and believe. It's the season's early. And because of players like Sealer and HN, whoever, smaller guys that might step up. But it's not looking good, guys. That's the reality. And that's what I've been saying for a while. I've been the boogeyman. I've been Mr. Negative. I've been a lot of things to a lot of people that, maybe now they're like, well, maybe Curse was right. I try to treat you fairly, with honesty. I don't do hopium and BS. That's what I do here. I'll get into the tape and get into some old stuff and try to find some positives, get ready for this game because that's all you can do, cover this game. But that's it. Know that Chris Grier is the guy that you should put all your fingers on first. If you're not happy with this thing, just look at him. And at the end of the season, if we are 5 wins or 6 wins, and they tell you, well, Chris Grier, this is just a bad season. A lot of things happen, and he's going to have the picks now. You got to just drive him out like Frankenstein. You just got to say, no, I'm not accepting this. Anyway, guys, I care about you all. I'm going to continue to give you good evaluations best I can. Honest, not always right, but honest. Let's stick by our team and see what happens. Curtis saying, be well, go Phins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.